Hello guys, welcome to Coding Journey. Today I'm going to solve a question from CodeJam round 1A, double or one thing. So the problem statement is as such, we are given a string, let's say the string is hat, okay? And now what we are allowed to do is that we can consider a character and choose to repeat it, or we can not repeat it. If we are choosing to repeat it, then we can repeat only once. So what I mean is that, let's say we are at edge and we are traversing from left to right. So let's say that I choose to repeat it, so we can repeat only once. Next we are at A and let's say we choose to not repeat it, so keep it as it is. And now we are at T and let's say we choose to repeat it, so we have double T. So this is the one possible string that we get after performing the repetition operation, possibly 0 repetitions. So likewise we can get 2 to the power n such strings, because n is the length of the string and for each character we have 2 choices. So that is why 2 to the power n such strings would be possible. So in this case we will have 2 to the power 3, where 3 is the size or length of this string. So that is 8 possible strings we can have. So these 8 possible strings are, let me just quickly write them down. HAT. Here we choose to not repeat any character in the first possible string. Let's say we choose to repeat H now. So that is HHAT. Let's say we choose to repeat A now. HAAT. Let's repeat T. HATT. Let's repeat H and A. So we have HH, AA and T. Now let's repeat A and T. So we have H, double A, double T, and we have HT. So let's repeat HT now. HH, A, double T. And in the last we repeat all 3 characters. So we get H, H, A, and T, T. So next, once we have all these strings, what the problem statement is asking is that we need to return such a string that is lexicographically smaller. So here, amongst all these strings, the smallest string is this one. So you can verify that this is the smallest substring by comparing this to each and every all strings basically. So that is the answer we need to return, right? So let's see the brute force approach for this. So the brute force approach says that we have a string of length n. In the first step, we'll generate all the possible strings, that is 2 to the power n possible strings, and in the second step, we return that string which is lexicographically smallest. So while generating these strings itself, we keep track of the smallest one, and in the second step we return the smallest or lexicographically smallest string. So this is the brute force approach, but the problem here is that the constraint given is the maximum length of the string can be 100, and as we all know that 2 to the power 100 is not feasible to compute. So we try to form an efficient solution now. Okay, now let's see the efficient approach for this problem. Let's consider a simple example. We are given a string A and we need to return the answer for this. So we have 2 possible strings for this A, that is we have A and double A. and between these two strings we see that this A is the smallest one. Okay, let's consider another example, double A. So for this example we will have four possible strings: double A, triple A. We choose to repeat the first character, then triple A, we choose to repeat the second character, and double A, we choose to repeat both the characters. And between amongst these strings, triple A and triple A are repeated, so we just consider only one. Yeah. So between these three strings, we see that double A is the smallest one. So the answer for this given string is double A itself. So what we can conclude is that if the string contains a single character, then the answer for that string is that string itself. That is, if the string is given like this, which has only one single character in it, so the answer for that would be that string itself. So this is one observation that we consider. Let's consider second observation. Let's say the given string is AB. Okay, so now we are at this position, we are at A. So we have two choices, either to repeat it or to not to repeat it. So if we choose to not repeat this, so at the second position we'll definitely have this B. But if we in fact choose to repeat it, then at the second position we'll have A again. And the string continues. But from these two strings, what we can see is that if we choose to repeat it, then this string starting from double A is definitely smaller than the string starting from AB, right? So in this case, if we were to choose to repeat the first character, then we would get smaller string. So basically what we observe is that if the character, where S is the string, if the character at ith position is less than the character at I plus 1 position, then what we should do is we should repeat it, because as you can see that repeating it would give a smaller string, and by not repeating it we would not get a smaller string. So that is the second observation. Let's see the third observation now. Let's say that we have a string BA. Okay, so now we are at the position capital B, the first character. We have two choices, either to repeat it or to not to repeat it. So let's say if we were to repeat it, then at the second position we would definitely have B, because we are repeating it, and then followed by A, so on. If we were to not repeat it, so at the second position we would definitely have this A, right? And now between these two strings we see that if we were to not repeat it, then we would get smaller string, right? So like the string starting from BA is smaller than the string starting from BB. So hence in this observation we see that if this character at the position at I is greater than the character at the next position, then we do not repeat. Right? So this is the third observation that we make. Now obviously for the next character we can continue in the same fashion, right? let's say we have the string BAC, we are at here, and we see that this character is greater than A, so we choose to not repeat it according to this observation. So we just simply put B itself. Then we are at next position A, and we see that A is smaller than C. So according to the observation number second, if the character is smaller than the next character, then we repeat it. So here we repeat A. Okay, and we are at here, the last. So for this thing, observation number 4 comes into the picture. So let's say we have, let's say a character again BA, a string BA. So we know that B is greater than A, we consider to not repeat it, so we keep it as it is. Now we are at the last character. There is no character ahead of this. So what should we do? So again, for this character we have two choices, either to repeat it or to not to repeat it. So these two strings we are getting. So if we choose to not repeat it, then we are getting a smaller string if we would have chosen to repeat it, right? So this BA is smaller than BAA. So what does it mean? That no matter what, if you are at the last character, you should not repeat it at all, because if you are repeating it, then you are just making a string greater, and if you are not repeating it, then you are basically making a string smaller. Okay, so now let's take a bigger example so that we can apply our observations. Let's say the given string is AAA, WWD, PNT. So first things first, our observation first said that if a string has only one character, then the answer for that string is that string itself. So what we need to consider is that we need to group all such substrings which has only one character. So we have AAA, double B, double D, and this single P and single T. So the newly generated string would be A, B, D, B, T. Okay, so why we have clubbed this? Because we simply know that from observation 1 the answer for that string is that string itself. Okay, but we also need to store that the number of characters that has been repeated in this is 3. So B has been repeated twice, D has been repeated twice, and P and T. Okay, so let's now apply our algorithm on this string, newly generated string. We are at A now. So we see that this A is smaller than this B. So according to observation number 2, if the character is smaller than the next character, then we choose to repeat it. So this was observation number 2. If the character is smaller than the next character, then we choose to repeat it. Okay. So we just repeat it. But the thing is that we don't just have one A, we have 3 A's. So what we do is we repeat these 3 A's just like that, because we know that the answer for just AAA is AAA. But since we were to repeat this A, we are repeating this entire thing. Okay, so we move forward. We see that B is less than D. So again we see that observation 2 comes into picture. So we choose to repeat this B, but then we have two such B's. So what we do is we repeat these two B's. Okay. Next we are at D. We see that D is again less than B. So we consider to repeat it. Observation number 2. So we have two D's. So we choose to repeat these two D's. Okay. Next we are at P. We see that P is less than T. Right. So we choose to repeat it. And since we are at the last character now, we don't do anything according to observation number 4. We just simply write it as it is. Since it was only 1, we just wrote only 1 T. If it was 2, then it would have been 2 T's. Okay. So I think we didn't put observation number 3 in here. So let's consider we have A as well. Okay, so what we'll have is A. And now let's say that we are at here, we are at this position, and this T is greater than A. So observation number 4 comes into the picture, and we simply do not repeat it. So this T becomes T is itself. This was 1 T, so just 1 T. And we are at the last character, simply just 1 A. So we just simply write 1 A. So this entire thing is the answer that we need to return. Yeah, so I hope the solution approach was clear enough. And talking about time complexity, here we can see that we are just traversing it only once. So the time complexity will be order of n time n, and the space complexity will be order of n, because we are storing this information, which is much better than the previous brute force approach. So let's go and see the code now. Yeah, so this void solve, vsolve, is the function which is being called in every test case. So we are taking the string, then we are basically in this code we are generating this new string and storing their respective frequencies. And this is the final piece of code where this logic is for second observation, as we saw, where if the character is less than the next character, then simply repeat it, but you also need to consider the frequency of that character. So we multiply twice the frequency of that, twice because we are repeating it, and the character will repeat that character and append it to our resulting string. Else, if it was greater than the next character, then we simply don't repeat it. So we generate a string which is nothing but a frequency, whatever the frequency was, and we append it to the result string. And if it was the last string, if it was the last character, sorry, then we simply don't do anything. We simply append whatever was the frequency of that character, and just simply return the string, resultant string. So I hope you guys like the solution. This was my very first attempt to explain any CP problem. I hope you liked it, and I hope to make more videos. Please tell us into the comment section if you liked it or not.